Hey y'all, Makensi Grant here, and I did already enter that writing competition. See, I was filming the kind of experience while it was happening, and it was really cute, and I thought I was having a lot of fun with it. And guess you forgot to check that the mic receiver was working. This girl. Yeah. I captured wonderful clips like this one where it's complete silence and I am really excited about everything I'm saying, and it's really impassioned, and I don't know what I said because I didn't write it all down. Ridiculous, right? So this competition I entered, a while back I kind of decided I didn't know what I was doing. And the only way I ever know how to fix that is to just barrel through it as if I was a bull in a china shop. So I found a writing competition called the NYC Midnight 500-word fiction contest. And this is a contest where writers from all over can enter, and you are assigned a genre, an action that must happen in the story, and also an object that you must mention. However, I did have maybe like a whole 12 hours of panicking because I got a genre I wasn't prepared for. I got romantic comedy. And I know, dear reader, that you and I have not known each other very long. But I'm not exactly the romantic comedy kind of girl. So this was kind of a stretch for me, and it's a stretch that was needed because I have spent a bit too long kind of stuck in my own cycle of doubting my own writing. So being told that my genre was romantic comedy forced me to just deal with so many of my problems all at once. It was the genre, it was the fact of writing and doing fiction for the first time, it was my own fear of failure. My story prompt was that I needed to write a romantic comedy that had the action of job searching with an object of tinfoil. Did I mention there's only 48 hours to write this? So that's what I set out to do. But first, coffee. Now this is officially the first sit-down writing, momentum building session I've ever done. So I wanted to get some things right. I also must have 3 liquids. This is optimal vibes. You never know what you want to sip in the moment. And then it was time to clear out the cobwebs in the brain. I have been building up this routine of doing morning pages thanks to the artist way. So this is kind of a continuation of that. I just basically take all the garbage that's built up in here and then I dump it out on the page. In the middle of my panic the day before, I had come up with some ideas. I had worked a little backwards, so I was trying to figure out what I would have tinfoil be. What would tinfoil be in a situation? And I kept coming back to either arts and craft or takeaway food. I'd also come up with 2 characters, Brittany and Neil. And then I got a little sidetracked and gave Brittany an entire backstory about her strives to want to be a Broadway star. She had been a singing waitress, and then that turned into her being a rent-a-princess, which happens to be the name of this short story. Weirdly, the panicking paid off though, because I was able to spend all of that extra energy into coming up with plots and plans, which made sitting down to write this a lot easier than I anticipated. So after I put in my plot points, I started filling in the gaps, fluffing some things out, adding some details, and the next thing you knew, I already had a rough draft. So I decided to take a little break where I gave myself time to forget what I wrote so I could come back and edit it and make sure that it was all set and ready to go. And just like that, it was all finished, and I think it turned out pretty cute. And since I'm putting this out after this portion of the contest is done, I'll go ahead and read it to you. The audience was enraptured as Brittany neared the crescendo, every note soaring as she silently counted out the steps left to reach the trigger. 3, 4, 5, and as the lyrics, "The cold never bothered me anyway," rang out, a blast of snowflakes poured into the front row. Cheers from a sea of tiny princesses reminded Brittany Copeland just how far away this Brooklyn brownstone children's party was from the Broadway Frozen musical of her dreams. 4 years ago, Brittany packed her bags and moved to New York City, like every other hopeful. 3 years ago, her savings ran out before the magical call came. Too bad the landlord still got through. Faced with crawling back home to mom, Brittany had decided becoming a rental princess was a better alternative. The pay was good, the flexibility for auditions even better. But Brittany was brave enough to admit her favorite part about the job was the free food. Like today's client, who generously shoved a wad of bills in some of the catered Chinese buffet, complete with tinfoil swan wrappings in Brittany's already stacked hands as she rushed out the door. Already late for the train, she sighed. Being on time had never been Brittany's strong suit, but today was not the day for shenanigans. Today, Brittany was in charge of making sure her best friend Talia had the most gorgeous engagement party. But first, she had an audition to make. New York is a place for dreamers, but Brittany knew better than most that dreams don't always come through. So one more shot for glory, and then it was time to find a real job. Her resume waited at home, but she was struggling to make 3 years dressing as Elsa sound like relevant work experience. Deep in thought, Brittany clomped down the sidewalk, blonde wig and costume train flying behind her as she balanced a box of props in one hand and that swan in the other. The quick clicks from her heels nearly drowned out all sounds as she hustled down the sidewalk. Well, almost everything. A little early for trick-or-treating, a voice called to my left. Good thing it's not candy I'm looking for. It's out of her mouth before Brittany even turns to face him. Of course, it had to be Neil Clayton. Neil was handsome in the I've actually played polo sort of way, with a long angular jaw, long legs, long fingers. Not that she'd ever noticed those. He also happened to be a tremendous pain in the ass. Unfortunately for Brittany, he was also the best man in Talia's wedding. Giving him a once-over, Brittany could admit, Neil had a way about him. Tall and well-tailored, he cut quite the image next to her sweaty Elsa with sweet sour sauce dribbling down her arm. A smug grin set on his face, and she intended to wipe it off. Like I said, I thought it was cute. Romantic comedy isn't a typical thing that I would have planned to write, but I had fun, and that's kind of the whole point of this. I want to make writing fun for me again. Now, luckily, I can't chicken out because I've already sent this story in. So if you don't like it, too bad. I thought it was cute. I had a lot of fun with it, and that's really the whole point of doing this competition, is trying to make sure that writing is fun, as well as taking off a bit of pressure on myself to get the first piece out. Would I love to win? Oh yeah, of course, totally. I'm not gonna pretend that I wouldn't. But I just wanted to have fun. I just wanted to do something new. And I wanted somebody to critique my writing. So this competition is already exactly what I wanted. But fingers crossed I make it to the second round. Thanks for tuning in. You can stick around and see more of my journey to becoming an author, or just subscribe and you'll get the next hit. I'm Makensi Grant.